Yes, you love Sparrow, just like me. Yes, you're getting more wins, or maybe you're playing him and realizing this character has a ton of potential. But also, just like me, if you don't think about it and get clear on why he's so good, well, you're not going to be prepared to talk about it at a high-level esporting event like I do, which is part of my job here as an esports caster for many, many years, and of course, the host of the ALGS. But on YouTube, I want to make this video for all of you who maybe aren't needing to go cast a $2 million tournament, but when your friends ask why you're playing Sparrow, or you decide, should I go back to Bangalore, get on my Pathfinder, you'll realize after looking at the details of what makes him so good, why he's such a good choice for you, and how until he's nerfed or until something is changed, which we'll talk about later on in the video, he's going to be a great choice to grind ranked, to move on up, and also be a ton of fun. Let's get into the video and the 5 things that I think make Sparrow so good in Apex Legends and why you should consider mastering him. And before we do, let's hope that you guys enjoy this content and leave a like on the video. It means a lot, and obviously it helps me continue to do this and get it out to more people. So thank you for that. Here's a smile and a wink. All right, let's get started with the first thing that makes Sparrow so good, and it's not always there. The big picture of what Sparrow has brought to the table is information. Sparrow is a recon legend, but he's a little bit different than all recon legends because he's got more access to survey beacons in a way that brings his tactical ability to a brand new level of impact. So this is the process of starting out, dropping down. You don't know what's happening. Maybe there's a team near you, maybe not, but you've landed by yourself. Where's your next move? Hitting those survey beacons allows you to make amazing decisions, and Sparrow's ability to use his Q, which, let's get the official name here. It's called Tracker Dart, allows him to scan survey beacons, but he scans them in a way that not only gives him the same level of Evo development, which means he's gaining shield and he's gaining the ability to be more effective later on in the game because of these scans that are happening consistently, but he's also gaining information for his team in a very easy way that doesn't put Sparrow out of position. This scales later on in game when you're finding yourself in final rings and you don't know how many teams exactly are where, or if there's a solo running around, you can scan a survey beacon, and the benefit here is that no one can stop you. Even Crypto's drone, even though he's the only other character that can compete with not having to run up, do the full animation, have to get protected in a high-level lobby with like a Gibraltar shield or something, a Newcastle shield, otherwise he might get shot down in 3-2-1 by teammates. Sparrow literally can just do this for free from so far up. There's actually started to become some lineups, I believe, from staging. You can hit 3 to 5 survey beacons if you just know where to aim. That's not only a ton of information, it's a ton of Evo, and that just means you're going to be on blue faster. It means you're going to be on purple faster. It means you're going to have an advantage. So this is a huge aspect of it. And late game, when you really want to know if there's a solo or how many players are where, or if you think it's a full team but you're not sure, he doesn't have to leave his perch of safety. He could just shoot that, and unlike even Crypto's drone that can be destroyed, he'll find a way to get the information and no one can stop him. That is the beauty of not only Tracker Dart, but what Sparrow brings. It's one of the reasons that makes him so good, from early game to building up that Evo cache throughout the game, to navigating how to move into zone safely and getting to that spot because now you're hitting more survey beacons, to ultimately in in-game making sure you have as much information as possible and always a heads-up advantage. And before we move to the next point, he's adding more survey beacons to your normal recon usage of survey beacons. Because it is laborious, and guys, it's like, you're going to fill up gas in your car. If you have a gas station that's, right next to your house, you're going to use that one every single time. You're not going to continually try to keep searching for new gas stations. Unfortunately, it's not always that easy for a recon legend to go ahead and try to fill up or get information, because they have to go on these journeys to find them and then suddenly go out of position, risk themselves, and then go back to position with their teammates. He doesn't have to do that. He can do it all on the way to where he was going in the first place while sticking with his teammates. And so maybe you're hitting 1 or 2 survey beacons, navigating your big movements whenever you see them as a recon legend. I would say Sparrow on average, at least for me, I'm hitting at least 4 to 5 beacons each and every game now, which is totally different from before where you really had to go out of your way. And sometimes people, let's be honest, would just forget that it's a part of their kit. So that's a huge element. And I think Sparrow is truly showing us the value, not just of that, but what happens when you have such access to information so often for you and your team. The second thing that I talked about, and those are really those 2 points, right? Not only the information that he's getting from those Evo caches, but the second aspect is information around his tracker dart, which is not available to other legends, even in game. Now, we haven't had any of these like trip sensors that are actually sensors that give you information on where someone is. Sure, we've had caustic barrels you can leave in. We've had Watson fences. We've had ways for people to know if, there have been traps that have been set up and that someone has tripped them or that they might have been coming your way. Ash had a really weird passive where after she killed people on death boxes, she could look and see where the squads were that were in that fight over the last few seconds. I don't know, it was so confusing. I rarely ever use it, and I think a lot of people didn't, and so they removed it completely in this last patch because of the fact that Sparrow also it does that, and it's just more effective. But instead of those big looks at how things change, I mean, think about the impact of knowing where someone is, just throwing that dart on them, on their team, getting them pinged. We're not even talking yet about combining that with the ability to hunt people down with one of his perks, which is super important to him, having that level of aggressiveness if you want to play him aggressively, which he can do very, very well. All of that, especially the macro information from the recon beacons, and then the information mid-fight, during the fight. I mean, listen, there's a lot of moments where you're behind a box or you're behind a cart and there's another player and you're basically using that thing in between you and that other player in order to try to get the right peek and hit them before they hit you. You're doing that little do-si-do. When you throw your tracker dart over on this side, now you've got information that they don't, and you're able to not only manipulate it, but get that first shot off much more often. These little moments inside the micro fights are also what makes Sparrow so powerful, and there really isn't a legend that can do that in the same way except for Bloodhound. And guess what, guys? When Bloodhound was able to do that consistently, and when Bloodhound was able to have access to extending that range and that vision, basically they became the most important character in Apex Legends for an entire run of like a pro season. It was unbelievable. And so get clear, this is just as valuable, and it's going to have a huge impact on Sparrow being really, really good. The third thing that I mentioned, that this is kind of the meat and potatoes with him, is that many people kind of critically overrate his ability to be aggressive. I like aggressive characters, but it's not the first time that we've seen aggressive play. Bangalore, Bloodhound, the ability for those characters to run at you, dive at you, pop into their ultimates. Ballistic right now with his ultimate, giving you movement speed, having the ability to extend the duration of that timer by 15 seconds, getting resets on knocks so that this entire team is moving with infinite ammo, super fast speed, and pumped up weapons. We've seen the ways that Wraiths and Ashes can get into the fray of these fights and get out quickly while being safe. Aggressive legends like Horizon have fallen out of the meta, or Pathfinder, but they're still able to come back at a moment's notice whenever the moment or maybe the legend ban dictates that I want to have that playstyle. All in all, there's aggressiveness in Apex. But guys, the whole point is that you don't have to play aggressive with Sparrow. That's the beauty of it. If you're like me, and aggressiveness comes naturally to you, but sometimes in a final zone, after you've run a couple people down, you want to play to win the game, then Sparrow is actually one of the best characters for that. He's criminally underrated in his ability to be impactful in these late game scenarios because he forces other people to make decisions to be aggressive towards him. And by doing that, he could set up a lot of plays that punish that aggressiveness. So essentially, when the Ashes, when the Bloodhounds, when the Wraiths come knocking, he could throw his ultimate down. That's Stinger Bolt, which basically does 20 damage of anything per tick for 6 ticks in a wide area. So if you are in the line of sight of that, you are losing damage. And if he has his level 3 up and he's getting the ability to get that healing back from the amount of damage he's doing, well, that means he's getting 20 ticks on you and 20 health back. But if he's getting 2 players getting hit by 20 ticks each, every second, he's getting 40 health back per second, or 40 shield back. It is a huge swing. And what that means is if you all in with Ashe, go and use your Ashe portal to try to get aggressive onto this character. You tether him so he can't move. If he throws that stinger bolt at his feet, you don't want to peek. You don't want to poke. You do not want to be involved in that. And that means that you could really bait a lot of players, as you've seen or will see in some of this video, to really kind of start a fight against you and realize it's not good. And now be caught in no man's land where they wanted to fight you, but realize they've got to die. So now they've got to heal or they've got to run. The zone is closing and you're kind of just screwed. Sparrow is so good, not just creating scenarios where, yes, he can maybe take the first shot, but intimidating people to say, hey, look, you're tracked. Oh man, all right, now this wouldn't be a surprise. So now we have to they know we're coming, so we might get shot at before we even get there. Boom, you're tracked again. Oh my God, now, okay, well, maybe we find another team because this team's tracking us and they're ready to shoot us, right? Oh, okay, let's go. Anyways, it's just all in. Here's a stinger dart right at the end of the Wraith portal, right? One of the things that at this point you probably have seen in this video is Wraith and portaling. You could set up an amazing trap against her. If a Wraith who's on high ground tries to portal down to get aggressive to you, you could stinger bolt right in between her and that portal. Now she's forced to do three things. One, keep fighting and probably die. Two, abandon her portal, lose line of sight with the ultimate, and then now she's on the low ground and you've got high ground advantage. Or she could take damage from her stinger bolt, from your stinger bolt, and she could take her portal back. But if you're smart enough, all you've got to do is take that portal before her, and now she's screwed. You've got high ground. She either comes back in the portal away from your ultimate, and you get to fight her and say hello, or she stays down there and you're in a better position. All in all, you've allowed her aggressiveness to now be punished by your ability to control space and have information. That is where I think people are criminally underrating what Sparrow can do. Yes, it feels fun to be aggressive and throw those bolts at people, but I do think there's going to be a huge wave of players who want to take it a little slower, but who want to have command of the situation when they're ready. And that is what I think we have to kind of highlight, or at least I've found in a lot of these wins that have really, really helped me. Ashe is pushing out of staircases. You know, I could be aggressive, but if I throw this stinger bolt into the staircase, she just pushes out of it and then she fights me without line of sight, and then I probably die. If I shoot it at my feet, well, now she's got a choice to make. She takes damage and fights me, which may not work out in her favor, or she stays in that staircase. I've stopped her from being aggressive, and in the same way saved my own life and put her in a quandary, which many players are just not good enough to handle all those decisions without giving you an opening to be effective and take them down. So that's one of the biggest things, I think. The other thing that is, I mean, guys, when we look at aggressiveness, while he does have this amazing ability to, you know, counter aggressiveness with some of the perks that are now available for my boy Sparrow, he can also be one of the more aggressive type legends that this game has to offer. And the beauty of that is it means it fits both types of playstyles. So there's going to be a lot of people playing Sparrow. He's going to be one of the highest picked legends in Apex Legends in its entirety over these months before he gets nerfed, if he does get nerfed. And he's going to be able to do that because he's got a lot of swing potential. So like I said, playing kind of defensively, you can swing a fight. When you are offensive, you're aggressive, you're level 3, and you have the perk that heals you while you do damage with your ultimate, it just means that you're going to really have an advantage against not just one player, but your advantage will kind of increase with multiple players, especially if they're not fighting you at the exact same time. If you're taking a series of 1v1s where somebody's coming, you fight, you maybe finish them off with like the last bullet, then the other player comes in, you're going to have so much more staying power. Essentially, if you're doing 20 damage and healing 20 shield or 20 health, you're gonna almost get the value of a shield swap by the time that fight's over. So while you'll then have a shield swap, hopefully, because it'll still do damage to when they're knocked, or it'll still do damage and feed that damage back to you while you're fighting that second player, you're gonna have a level of sustain most people in Apex just aren't used to. Push them before they swap, push them before there's a down. Those are the ideas that we know in Apex, not against Sparrow. It's not gonna be easy. And I love that about him too, because it means that, yes, while you can use the Huntsman perk and track people down and get basically that Bangalore 33% movement speed passive when you're tracking someone, you could also use that ultimate and say, hey, take on this fight, guys. If you want to, I dare you. You're spending 500 or something damage to get rid of my ultimate, or you're shooting me. If you don't shoot me, well, then I'm letting my ultimate heal me and I'm shooting you. If you want to run away again, I'm just going to track you with that dart, get my movement speed, and catch up to you. Oh, did I mention I have a double jump? Did I mention I have a wall jump? There's really not going to be a lot of ways to run away from a Sparrow who decides to get aggressive from you either. So not many characters bringing into the fold the ability to play both offensively and defensively. Imagine if we had a Gibraltar that could be running at people like this. I mean, what kind of crazy play styles would that be? But no, Gibraltar, Newcastle, people like this, while they can be aggressive at times, certainly aren't geared to be aggressive. Their power comes from staying, denying, allowing them to reset, putting themselves in positions where teams have to force their hand. That is not what Sparrow does only. And that flexibility means he's going to be such a great pick across so many team compositions. So if you're ever worried about, will he fit in here? Will it be a good choice? Feels like Sparrow's really going to be able to apply some value to almost any situation that you play him. And this goes for competitive play as well. I also just can't wait to see, really, does he shut down Ashe? Does he shut down Wraith more than we think? Are you going to have to try to build to counter against him? Because really one of the only characters that I find can counter him very well just out the rip with their ultimate are Watson and Newcastle. And so obviously they've been good, but Catalyst has also been a main fixture when those characters are banned, when those characters aren't played as much. And so that vision through Catalyst ult, that vision, that Sparrow ultimate that can still hit behind that wall, that's going to be a big deal. I mean, is that going to shut her down a little bit more? Or are people going to just say, well, we'll deal with it when we can, but it's probably not going to be a major issue? I love a lot of the theory crafting of that. I want to know what you guys think. Who are characters that you feel are going to be stepping up in the meta to counter Sparrow? Who do you think is going to get a little bit more play with Sparrow as well to kind of help him be even more aggressive or to demolish some of those counters? I like the idea of Ballistics and Sparrows having so much movement speed across the board between those two characters and so much destruction power with the Stinger and with the Rampage or Devotion or whatever you're using for the sling weapon for Ballistic. I love the concept of that. And I also love the Tracker Dart and the ability to have Ballistic's Whistler. I mean, just information and also denying of the other player's ability to fight at you. I mean, it just makes a bad situation worse, adding insult to injury. So that should be really, really fun. The other, and maybe one of the last things that I want to mention before we round this out, is how his access to high ground is always one of the most unique elements of a character's kit, and it's one of the more rare elements. In this game, you don't see a lot of characters that have access to high ground off the rip. You might see a few, and if they have access to it, they might have some other glaring issue that means that they're not really playable. For instance, Valkyrie might have some really great access to high ground, but she might not be playable in most situations due to some of the constant nerfs, the inability for her height to be normalized when it was super amazing at movement, and sometimes just the lack of value that she brings across movement when other players have decided, well, I don't need to move like that. I've got Evo, I've got I've got the ability to kind of fly up on an Evo balloon and then make sure that I can get to my next location without having to use a Valkyrie ult and take a character slot. Horizon is a character that has high ground access and gives it to her team, which is massive. But unfortunately, Horizon really isn't in the meta right now. And doesn't pair the same way when she's not going against a seer or someone granting tons of vision. But now that Sparrow's in the mix, will both of them be available? Who knows? I don't know. This is a kind of an interesting pair. You look at Octane, really not in the meta. And you continue to kind of go on and on, like Revenant. Well, he's got issues around finding value from his ultimate, finding value from the resets of his Nox, which have been taken away from skirmishers now. There's little things that, yes, he can climb, on the side of a wall, get high ground, but he can't do it with his team. These things mean that there are issues if the character doesn't bring so much more to the table as well. Sparrow has access to a wall climb, jump, and also to a secondary jump, just a general boosted jump that is basically only a 2-second cooldown and can reset very, very quickly. So you've got to consider why that's going to be valuable, because fighting when you're looking up is a different deal. Whether you're on controller looking up quickly, that's very difficult, or whether you're just a player who's used to fighting in this kind of 2D, 3D like flat plane, when you start to use the Y-axis to have to kind of look up and then sideways and up, and then he's spin around. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do, and Sparrow not only does that, but then it gives him an opportunity to, let's say there's a mountain, let's say there's a hill. I've been in situations where I've been playing Ballistic, I can't get up there. I mean, Ballistic's one of the best characters, right? There's a hill or there's a building, I just can't climb up there. Sparrow has access to those places, and sometimes now that you have access to that, now that you have access to your darts, that can be a huge piece of information for you. Force a teammate out of a hiding spot, set up a perfect grenade, whatever that looks like. Or now you can go ahead and throw your stinger bolt, and that, my God, now you're shooting from on high down. You're going to have a great angle onto teams versus if you're down below, you're trying to shoot that onto a team up high. I mean, forget about it. It's not going to be the same thing. It's going to be so hard to hit that shot. And so he gives himself such a great advantage by having access to high ground. And what this means, guys, is just Sparrow is a great character. It's been a long time since we've seen, I think, characters with this level of kind of an iconic kit in Apex Legends come to the forefront right out the gate and be this good. I'm really appreciative that Apex took the time to make this character overwhelmingly good, so that if they do decide to nerf some of the perks, or they nerf the ultimate, or they nerf something, we can have very clear feedback on what immediately has the most impact on the character, and maybe tune it back up, maybe decide, oh, that's exactly where they need to be, versus bringing out a character that just isn't good and people don't know why they're not good, and there's just all these things wrong. Everyone says you should do this, no you should do this, no you should do this. It's so much easier to do it this way, where now everyone knows Sparrow has so many threats, so much value, and they're going to start to find ways to bring him into alignment. Do you think he's busted? Well, let me just give you this final note of what a great character usually has in their kit. Usually that character's kit is fun, so it feels good to play. Usually that character's kit has utility, not just for them, but for their team. Usually that character's kit gives them an advantage in situations where you win games in Apex, a la information, a la not dying, very hard to kill. Watson's a great example. Holding a building sometimes is a great way, especially when World's Edge existed, to just make sure that no one decides to push you. And if you don't get pushed and you hold the building, you probably win more often than you lose. Sparrow has information. Stinger bolt, very hard to push him, very hard to go and survive when he's pushing you. Movement. Usually there's movement in a high level character's kit. A character that is like, okay, maybe we ban this character, maybe we play around this character. He's got movement too. And the other thing that people are missing is the hitbox. A lot of times a character can have all these amazing things, but they show up like Gibby. They show up like Newcastle, and they're just big. You could see the issues that more aggressive characters like Pathfinder and Revenant have, because when they're not taking high ground or getting the best positions, they're really big targets with weird hitboxes that sometimes in close-up 1v1s lose to smaller characters like Lifelines, like Wraiths, and even sometimes like Ashe, who's smaller than them, even though she's not too big. Sparrow finds himself right in that middle of the pack, which is great. Very much like Bangalore, meaning it's just an overall very good kit with some movement speed, some information. He's got a little bit of everything. So I think Sparrow in season 25 is certainly going to fly. You guys let me know if you enjoyed this one. Hopefully you learned something from these end zones, had a lot of fun watching, and hopefully you agree with me and find value in Sparrow's kit as well. If there's something I missed or you think that makes him really good that we didn't touch on here, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. And of course, I'll see you all in my next video. Remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.